Hello friends, welcome to the Ancient Health Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Chris Motley, and today I'm at A4M with, I'm going to say, one of the smartest guys, I'm serious, that I've ever listened to, and it's Ulrich Dempfle, and he is the co-founder and CEO of Carol Bike. And Carol Bike is basically a bike that uses ReHIT. I'm not going to try to butcher it. I want you to be able to explain it.
Right.
But you have made leeways into the cardiovascular realm with a machine that literally has been shown, like clinically and scientifically, to actually change cardiovascular. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, I mean, people can read your bio. I do want to hear a little bit about yourself, but you're a mechanical engineer. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, as you said, I'm a mechanical engineer. When I was younger, I always dreamt of building cars or airplanes. Then life was unpredictable and took me other ways. I spent most of my professional life actually in healthcare.
Really?
Working with hospitals, with payers, trying to make patient care better, more cost effective. Mm-hmm. And in there, we did fairly advanced stuff. Mm-hmm. So we did, for example, predictive modeling using AI machine learning technologies to identify which patients would benefit from certain interventions. And we set up and ran chronic disease management programs. That's great, but one of the most powerful intervention for most people is exercise. And you don't actually need a PhD to figure that one out. And there the challenge is more, how do you get people to exercise? And we struggled with that as well. And then one day we came across the science of ReHIT and the big promise that it had, delivering like really short, really efficient workouts that give a big boost in cardiorespiratory fitness, V02 max. And we fell in love. We literally fell in love on first sight. And wanted to do that for ourselves, for our patients. But there was just no equipment that was a convenient or accessible package for consumers. There was lab equipment, a much higher price that needed a second person to operate the machine for a user. And that's just not for the mass market. And so then we thought, maybe we can build something. And that's how kind of Carol Bike, or the idea, came up in the first place. That's a long time ago. That's 2012. Now it's like 12 years later, but we're well established now.
Yeah.
And we have the Carol Bike that makes really, really efficient cardiovascular exercise accessible to a broad audience. Literally any age and fitness level can benefit from this workout.
Oh, and when you're talking with the Carol Bike, I want to go and describe what it is and what it does. But when we're talking about ReHIT, and you were talking about in your writings, in your videos too, about interval training and essentially like intensity workouts, you can go either way, because I don't want to, again, butcher this, but is it like you were finding through your research that individuals who did really high intensity, like short amounts, actually were more beneficial?
So first, we work with the top universities and the top researchers in this field, and we have to credit them. So we're standing on the shoulders of giants, if you want to use that cliche. And they've, over decades, like the first of these sprint trainings came up in the 70s, tried to figure out how little do you have to do to still get the benefit. So it was very clear early on that HIT, high intensity interval training, many people will be familiar with that, is very effective and is more effective than steady state, moderate intensity exercise. So that was clear fairly early on. But HIT, like a typical HIT session has like 6, 8, 10 intervals, they're like 40, 50 seconds. And if you do the whole thing, you're quickly 30 minutes busy, and it's really a high level of exertion. And many people find it very difficult to do. And then you get low rates of adherence, and it just doesn't really work that well. And so the quest was, how little do you have to do to still get the benefit, but have basically like the minimal effective dose of exercise. And this was done successively, that researchers titrated back to just how little can you do to get an effective workout. And the sweet spot is 2 20-second sprints at maximum intensity. So you trade time versus intensity.
Yes.
But all you need to do is 2 20-second sprints going all out to get a really potent training stimulus.
Yes.
And like a really powerful boost in VO2 max. And below that, so if you do any less, very clearly you get less benefits. Yeah? So doing any less is a trade-off where you get less benefits. But here the crazy thing is, if you do more, you don't actually get more benefits.
Oh.
And that's very surprising.
Yes.
And in fact, the research, the data suggests that if you do more sprints or longer sprints, not only do you not get more benefits, you actually get less benefits. And that is really hard to understand.
Yeah, very much so.
Because usually in exercise, it's very straightforward. If you do more or at higher intensity, you get greater benefits. But not with these short maximum intensity sprints. You get less benefits, it seems. And so the explanation, the presumption is that once you do more, you pace yourself. You know, oh, I have to do 6 sprints and they're 40 seconds each, and you hold back. You don't go all out. You do like 90% effort or 85% effort. Whereas 2 20-second sprints are so short that you can actually push to your limits. And that just hits, a different adaptation pathway.
Yeah, yes.
And it provides a different stimulus just from going all out than these longer intervals do. And that means, actually doing more is not better for you. It's you blunt, like it just feels harder. It feels more horrible.
Yes.
And you actually get less benefits. So in this case, this is, as far as I know, it's the only type of exercise where less is actually more. And that's kind of, it's a beautiful thing for us, for our users. And it's a little bit puzzling, but the explanation, the presumption is very clearly that psychology kicks in. If you know you have to do it for longer intervals, you just hold back and you don't go all out. And we wanted really, in those 2 20-second sprints, just go all out, push to your limits. And it's possible because it's so short.
Yes.
You see immediately kind of the light at the end of the tunnel is always there. And so you know this is just a very short moment and I can push through.
Yeah.
And then you can benefit from this very, very efficient training method.
And the coherency for the patient to actually stick with it, you would start seeing that they would actually stick with it, because they tough through those 2 20-second.
Exactly. So it is, despite going all out, the overall level of exertion is actually very low. So you recover quickly. You don't put unreasonable amounts of stress into your body. You don't expose your body to that, to excessive amounts of stress. You just create the training stimulus, and that makes it, easier to adhere to, and something that people can do consistently. And the other component is, of course, it's so short. You can do the whole workout in as little as 5 minutes, and that makes it just easier to fit into your day. Because if you so everybody knows that exercise is super important. It's probably like next to, they're like the 3 big pillars: sleep, nutrition, and exercise. And you can argue which one's the most important. I think exercise might be the most important one.
Yeah.
And certainly one that most of us don't get enough of. So it's like 95% of Americans do not do enough exercise. And the number one reason why they're not doing that is lack of time. And so having really short and highly efficient workouts very clearly help with that.
So that it does give you convenience at the same time with the maximum benefit. Did you find when they were starting to adhere to the programs and to actually doing it, were people, of course, like seeing more strength in their heart. You said VO2 max and heart rate variability. Was that something that they saw a lot?
So there's a long list of benefits
Yeah.
because exercise is just so potent and does many things. The headline benefits, and that's kind of the most significant ones, is one, cardiorespiratory fitness measured in VO2 max. So that's your ability to burn, to metabolize oxygen during exercise. That's one. And then the other big one is metabolic health. That's lowering your risk of developing metabolic diseases like type 2 diabetes. Affects many, many people. And in both of those, it's a very significant improvement. So you can get with very little time. So studies have shown, and our data shows that, 12% improvement in VO2 max in only 8 weeks. And like the amount of time you need is minuscule. So you do 2 to 3 of those workouts per week. So what's that, like 15, 20 minutes total, like per week. Over 8 weeks, you get a 12% improvement. And that's just the start. So that continues then. Over 20 weeks, we see about a 20% improvement. And over something like 6 to 12 months, people, it depends a little bit on the starting point, but we see improvements of 30 to 50%. And that's very, very substantial for such a key metric, maybe the most important health marker like VO2 max.
Yes.
So that's one side. The other side, metabolic health benefits. And that is measured. So it's a clinical risk score, the MET-Z score. It's a compound measure that takes into account things like your blood sugar levels, triglycerides, and a number of other things that get measured in a lab, and expresses your risk of developing metabolic diseases. And in only 8 weeks, you can get a risk reduction of over 60%.
What?
Yes, so very, very substantial.
Wow.
From doing very little exercise. So it's the kind of the ROI, the return on the time, on the effort you put in is spectacular. So in terms of what you can do for your health, for your longevity, depending on what you're currently doing, but this is a really foundational and highly efficient measure that most people should be able to fit into their day and benefit from it.
I mean, that's amazing, like 60%. I mean, like you're saying, like 3 times a week they were seeing some of that results. Because the science behind the exercise is what's so intriguing to me. Could you also, and I don't want to stop you from explaining like the mechanisms, but like with the bike, some people would say like with the Carol bike, how is it made and like what is like the process on the bike?
Yeah, sure. So you register, you have an account, and it's an interactive computer-controlled bike. And we've designed it to accurately replicate the research that scientists did in the lab. So we basically, the concept existed, and then we tried to, and I think successfully have, translated and brought basically a lab-grade workout that people can do in their home. In the lab, you have scientific equipment. It's operated by a lab technician. It's like $10,000, $15,000, and they coach you through the workout. Now we have a computer-controlled bike. You register an account. It doesn't have any buttons. It's fully automated, and the machine coaches you through the workout. So it's incredibly simple to use. I don't want to say it's easy to use because you do have to put in the effort for those 2 short periods. But it's very, very simple to use, and literally suitable for any age and any fitness level. And then, so you're on the bike, you get guided workouts, like the machine actually talks to you, the bike talks to you, and explains the workout. You just have to then, when the bike says go, then you have to push hard. But it's very, very simple to perform. And then our AI algorithms will adjust the resistance and optimize the workout as you get fitter and stronger. And that's how we can really create a workout that's suitable both for professional athletes and like whatever, the biggest guy you can see. And for people like my mom, who's 81 and has mobility issues, but she can still benefit from a really, really efficient cardio workout because she can use a bike. A bike is a very safe and easy to use training modality, and we can tailor it exactly to her fitness level and make sure that she gets like the best workout she could get in such a short period of time.
Wow. And so you're with your mother as an example, and she's like, if somebody was on medications or anything, it's completely okay for them to do it because it helps them.
And we, in many ways, have to say that. So it's a very, ReHIT, it stands for reduced exertion, high intensity interval training.
Yeah.
The level of stress you expose yourself is very low. And so it's a very well and safe form of exercise. If you do have pre-existing conditions, please talk to your physician. That's how this works.
Yeah.
Talk to your physician that you're safe to use it. That's the same as if you join a gym. You're also advised to talk to a physician. But yes, we have users of all age groups. There have been clinical trials that with our bikes that use this in all types of kind of people who had cancer treatment, people who had cardiac events before. So this is an exercise that many people should be able to do. If you have a condition, speak to your physician first, but it should be something that you can do.
That's that, because when you're starting to see that, like you get the go ahead, you start doing the exercise, and you, like you said, the AI algorithm measures that you've gotten fitter, you've gotten stronger. And when you do get stronger, you're a fit guy. Like, so let's say you get to a point where you don't have to do more. Like I'm saying, like after, like, let's say you did it for 6 months and you're like, your resistance higher. Does the time frame stay the same, like the 20 seconds, or is it just like the pressure or the resistance higher?
So there are different versions of the ReHIT. So you typically start off with just 2 10-second sprints to get to know what it feels like and get used to it. Most people, basically nobody after the age of 30, or very, very few people after the age of 30 sprint. So most people will not have experienced like an all-out effort in years, maybe in decades. So we take our users towards that kind of gradually. So you first do 2 10 seconds, then 2 15 seconds, and when you're ready, you do 2 20 seconds. And if you feel 2 20 seconds are too hard, you go back. The most important thing is adherence, really. That's with all exercise. That's above anything else. Adherence is the most important thing. And then once you've reached the 220 seconds, then yes, the resistance would get harder, and the machine would basically give you the resistance you need for you to hit your maximum power, your maximum intensity, and really be able to push to your limits.
Oh, because that is amazing to me. Like if you can go with the smaller intervals, and you've explained it so well, but like with the intensity issue, like do your cells just like know that they just need small bursts of energy, and they just know that they can use it a lot better than long periods of time?
In a certain way, we simulate like an emergency situation. So if you think like really back, we did different things in the past. So past like 10,000 years back or 20,000 years back. Yes, like we did do endurance hunting and trying to like stalk, prey down, and humans are good at that. So that's one form. And the other thing is like fighting, and like fight for your life, run for your life. And those two modes hit different adaptation pathways. And what we do is we simulate an emergency situation where you have to go all out and kind of fight for your life or run for your life. And the beauty of that is that the training stimulus can be basically triggered within seconds, because we introduce a really severe spike in energy demand. And the body responds to that by mobilizing lots of energy, glycogen. And that mobilizes other molecules that create the training stimulus. And we can trigger that stimulus in seconds, so 220 seconds. And if we kind of press that switch harder, we wouldn't actually get more, like there wouldn't be a greater release of these signaling molecules. The pathway is already saturated, and we can activate it in seconds. The endurance pathway, so there's another pathway that comes to the same end product, but you need 45 to 60 minutes of continuous muscle contractions to activate the same signaling molecules that make you fitter and stronger. And so it's different things, but we get to the same endpoint, and one can be activated in seconds by going really momentarily all out, and the other needs 45 to 60 minutes. Both are effective, but one is just so much more efficient than the other.
That is incredible. I mean, seriously, like if you can get that much benefit and the same outcome. Because I remember when I used to run a lot, and they used to tell me that I'd go do a half marathon and full marathons. And I had a running coach that would tell me to do smaller intervals. Like I thought it was ridiculous. And I was like, there's no way I'm not gonna go to that, to get to 26 miles if I'm only running these many miles a day. And I did. And he was like, I'm telling you, you're going to get the best benefit. Is that the same concept too?
Absolutely. Yeah. And no question, like there's no serious endurance athlete that doesn't also do interval training. Because like the really high intensity interval training, intervals, that's where the magic with regards to VO2 max happens. And zone 2 training, so working at lower intensity for extended periods, something that is also popular and is a concept that gets a lot of time. People discuss it. Some are really very much in favor of it. But even the leading researchers who champion that type of workout are very clear. In terms of VO2 max, in terms of your cardiorespiratory fitness, it's the high intensity intervals where the magic happens. And there's no serious endurance athlete that doesn't also do high intensity interval training.
Do you find, like, of course they see the value and the beauty of it. Are you seeing more, I guess, in the health realm, I mean in the athletic realm, that more and more people are starting to turn to like Carol Bike and say we have to use this because it improves their function?
So yes, and we work with a number of athletes and teams. But then, no, there's other forms of interval training, very clearly, that are also effective. And if you're motivated, then you can do the 20, 30 minutes and longer intervals, and you do get benefits. So they're effective. Ours is just, it's effective and the most efficient. So we have no doubt that in terms of efficiency, in terms of how much you get for the time and effort you invest, there's nothing that comes even close.
Oh man, I was talking to one of my friends, Josh, and he has a Carol Bike, and one of the things that he was telling me that when you talk about VO2 max was like, even his HRV was getting so much better, and his cholesterol levels were getting very, very good. Is that that's one big thing for people, like cholesterol?
Yeah. So cholesterol, very clearly, and there's good scientific data. HRV improvement, I haven't seen data that correlates the use of our workouts with HRV improvement. What we're trying to, and what we're actually working on is rather do it other way around, to track people's HRV as a measure for their recovery state. So how well are they recovered? How ready are they to do their workout? To further personalize the ride, and kind of make it easier or harder depending on how well rested you are. So that way around, we're using HRV, and that will come soon.
So are there different versions? I know that it takes into account all the parts of the health benefits, but let's say somebody does come get the bike and say like, well, I know I can get benefit in my heart, but like they're like saying I have cholesterol issues or I have blood sugar issues. Can the bike take that into account, or does that, when they put it into the screen, do you put those things into the screen and somehow it makes adjustments for?
So, in terms of the training frequency that we recommend, that depends on your objectives. Therefore, if VO2 max and cardiorespiratory fitness is your key objective, then the data suggests that 2 times per week is enough.
Wow.
Because that's a slightly longer lasting effect. If metabolic health benefits, so managing your cholesterol, your blood sugar levels, is your primary objective, then we would recommend 3 times a week, every other day, because that's a more chronic effect. And so they're doing it regularly, and slightly more often is better. So it's, depending on your objectives, either 2 times a week or 3 to 4 times a week is then the optimal prescription or the optimal program for you.
That's what, like, when you had the high intensity, is it, for people out there, they would probably think that it's like opposite of what they've always thought. Like, as in, if you take a day to rest, or like if you take an interval, is there as much benefit, like, because it's based on like you do this one day and then you skip the next day, is that day that you're not doing it, is it very beneficial and healing you at the same time?
So yes, very clearly. I think, and this is something when people think about, well, how can such a short workout actually be beneficial? And that we've been taught that for a long time. So it's a very, well, strongly held belief that we have to overcome. But the thing to remember is you don't get fitter and stronger during the workout. And that's true for any exercise. You get fitter and stronger in the recovery period between the workouts. And so the workout just has to provide the training stimulus. And then, yes, you have to give your body time to rest, time to recover, to grow, to get fitter and stronger. Yeah, absolutely.
This is amazing. So when they get the Carol bike and they go through a program, does your AI programs, because AI is like, it's very inventive, because you're using AI like a long time ago, like, and you're like leading
and
the person.
It gets more advanced as well as we progress and as we collect more data. That's so one thing about AI is you need a lot of data for that, and we work with the leading researchers, and when they do a trial, it's usually like 8 weeks, 12 weeks. They may have 30, 40, 50 participants or so. So they get hundreds of rides in there. We have by now millions of rides.
Oh man!
From tens of thousands of users. And so we can do more stuff. We can run more sophisticated models like neural networks, reinforcement learning over that to really personalize and optimize the workouts for our users. And that's something that becomes possible with greater data sets. You can just do more stuff. And that's really good. And kind of as we grow, also the capabilities of the bike kind of improve further. Same thing with the HRV. This is something we had to track and collect data on for some period, and now we're ready to actually make an application out of it and use it to make the workouts kind of more personalized still.
That's amazing. So, okay, so if they get the bike, and let's say it is personalized, it is learning, but is there certain models, or do people can get a download from, like, do they have to keep getting a new bike every so many years, or?
No, because that's like software controlled, and all the bikes are cloud connected. And so both as kind of our R&D advances and we develop new features, that gets pushed out to all bikes, and when our scientific partners, our academic partners learn new things, we can also apply that. So as the science evolves and gets smarter, also the bike will evolve and get smarter. And so with the Carol bike, it's not just a static product. It's like you get it and then, well, that is it. It evolves as the science evolves. And if there's no new insight, then yes, of course, we can push that to all our users and to all the bikes.
Oh my goodness. So to me, it's like, as it learns you, like, and you're going to create the new, like, any programs that could say, like, this is, since it learns you, it can help you with this part of your body. Do you find, like, I guess with that one area where you have the HIT and then you have the day of rest and such, do you find like muscle growth is even more efficient and better when you do it in this manner?
So yes, and it's almost an essential thing that you leave the rest periods between the workouts. Now there's not much downside. Like, people can do it every day if they want, but to get the best benefits, you have to give your body time to adjust and to recover and to grow. And it's the same with strength training. So very clearly, like, the Carol bike is wonderful for your heart, for cardio. We would always recommend also to do resistance and strength training. That's another big pillar of exercise. You need time, and sometimes you progress more by training less and giving your body time to recover and grow, rather than try to hit it like with a new stimulus all the time, and it doesn't have time to actually respond.
Do you get a feedback? Because since it's such a beautiful like AI program, that do you get feedback from the clients and the people who are using it, that basically, since it's like helping them with their health so much, like their emotions, people's emotions in their bodies, like their psyche must be getting better, right? Do you get feedback like that?
So yes, and so this is an optional setting, but most people actually participate in that. We do ask after the 2 sprints how people feel, and whether they're confident to do this again, because we care more about adherence than anything else. So yes, we're all about efficiency, but then if I had to trade off adherence versus efficiency, adherence comes out top. And so this is one thing that we actually developed based on the feedback and data we collected from our users, is so a similar kind of ReHIT workout, but instead of using 2 20-second sprints, using 3 15-second sprints. So this is then 45 seconds under load, so slightly more duration, and the whole thing takes also a little bit longer. It takes like 3-4 minutes longer. But our users find it leaves them feeling a little bit better.
Yes.
And a little bit more confident that they can adhere to that. So if 220 seconds is the most effective, most efficient, it's the shortest, and so that's our default recommendation. But if we see that you're not feeling confident that you can do it, or you're not feeling well afterwards, then we have this alternative to do like slightly shorter sprints, but do 3 of them, that leaves users feeling better and more confident that they can actually adhere to. And that's directly based on the feedback we collect from our riders that goes into the product development.
Oh, because it would be amazing, because you know that they have accomplished it, they met a goal. That would be like the AI learns that, and you can make assumptions through AI, like we know this will create that.
Exactly.
This is really amazing. So I mean, okay. All right. So yes, with the Carol bike, how does it affect the longevity of the body, like the ability to age?
So very, very directly, because VO2 max is just such a fundamental factor for longevity. And it is the most important predictor for life expectancy. And by a large margin. So it is the most important predictor of longevity, and nothing else comes even close. And so with the improvement in VO2 max that you can achieve, you directly affect your health span and your lifespan. And to put this into context, for most people, a 10% improvement in VO2 max would translate into 2 years additional life expectancy. And that you can achieve in 8 weeks. So you can improve your VO2 max to a level that for most people, that would translate into 2 years additional life expectancy. That's how important VO2 max is for longevity.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. There's one thing to say. So you can achieve that benefit really, really fast. But you actually have to continue to work out. So this is not something, it's not a one-off.
There's no one-off.
You actually have to stick to it. It's a bit like, and their exercise is a bit like a diet. You can drop a lot of weight very quickly, but most people, unfortunately, put it back on as soon as they start eating normally. And with exercise, it's the same thing. The training effect is very fast, but the detraining effect is sadly just as fast. And that makes it so critical that you find a type of exercise that's sustainable, that you can stick to, and that fits into your life no matter what. And that is, I think, something that the Carol bike really offers, because it's so short, you can do it from the comfort of your home, that it is something you can stick to and that you can turn into a sustainable habit. And if you do that, yeah, in terms of longevity, it is probably the most powerful thing you can do to increase your life expectancy and also the quality of life that you have, because you're so much more capable.
Yeah.
You're fitter. You can do all those things that are just harder or impossible to do if you're unfit. And so, yeah, no, it's a very, I would argue for anybody interested in longevity, it's a very foundational, it's one of the first things you should cover off. There's many things you can do, and all of them good. And you could work on longevity and biohacking and all those things all day long.
Yeah.
But if you had to prioritize, what's the one thing I do? This comes very, very early on in the list. Probably kind of right after how much you sleep.
Yes.
Yeah? So it's very, very fundamental.
I mean, 2 years added life.
It's very, very meaningful. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That kind of was like the mic drop. Like that was so profound. I mean, when you have longevity, you're seeing people with these types of results. I mean, who would not get a carrot bite? I mean, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And it is. I think. I mean, sometimes people are like, "Oh, it's too good to be true." But the thing is, so it's not something for nothing. You do have to, those 2 20-second sprints, you have to push. They feel hard, your heart rate goes up. But once you've tried that and experienced that, you will really understand, that it's effective immediately. Like, oh yeah, I see why this works. And then as you do it, like, yes, you get all the metrics and it's highly quantified on the bike. Mm-hmm. But it's also, you really do feel it. This is not something like, oh, maybe I got fitter. So I do many things.
Yeah.
And, for some things I'm like, it might help. I'm not sure. And I take some supplements and this and that. Yeah. And maybe it helps. I'm not sure. With the Carol bike, it's absolutely no doubt you feel it. Like, no question. It's so obvious and the opposite of subtle. It's very clear that you feel the benefit.
Man, I know your time is very valuable here at the conference, but I want to ask one more question. When we talk about mobility, like longevity, people are getting older, they want to add more years to their life. Like, do they find, like with Carol bike, with the interval training, like it actually keeps the joints kind of like, like keeps people mobile?
So exercise, I think, should cover 3 things. There's cardio, there's strength, and there's mobility. Mm. And I think each of those deserves their own attention. So, and that's like, I do Carol every other day. Mm-hmm. On my in-between day, I lift some weights. Yeah. And I do some like stretching routine to just keep mobile and work on mobility and stability. They're all those are the 3 key pillars of exercise, and they all deserve their own attention. And the Carol bike, obviously, you move. That helps, is good for the joints, and it's not high impact. But mobility is another thing that we would recommend, that people just do their own short stretching routine. This doesn't have to take long. Mm-hmm. You could do like a few yoga poses, also in something like 5-10 minutes a day. That does deserve its own attention.
Man, this has been such a good convo. I mean, like when people want to dive deep into it, I know you have videos out and such, like on the website, do they have like videos and stuff that they can watch?
Yes. We go into, we have some very detailed materials on the website. So there's a rich repository of information. You can, and it links to all the original research if you want to go that deep. We also offer, like we have fitness advisors, people with like MSc and exercise science. Mm-hmm. You can make an appointment with them and just discuss whether it's the right thing. If you have specific question, whether it's the right thing for you, we offer that service. But yeah, so we do offer a lot, and if people want to go deeper, they can.
I love it because the possibility of like being able to like get in contact with you guys to actually modify their programs. Yeah. Wow. I mean, so are you guys, on Instagram and like on Facebook and such? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So we're on all social platforms at The Carol Bike. You can find us there. You can find us at our website, carolbike.com. You can talk to us, to one of our fitness advisors, see whether it's the right thing. And in a way, you can try it. So when I say try it, we don't have many showrooms, but instead we offer an industry leading kind of returns policy, and we call it our risk-free trial. So if you purchase a bike, you have 100 days to see whether you like it and whether you see results. And 100 days is easily enough for that. And so most people, of course, keep it because we know it works. But if it's for some reason not for you, you can also just return it for a refund. And therefore, the risk of buying it is actually not all that big.
I like the bike because when I've seen it, it's like it's sleek and it's very mobile. You can put it right into the side of it and it's out of the way. You can pull it right out. It's not too incredibly heavy either. That's what I think is amazing.
So it is a bit heavy, and it's because the forces, like if you go all out, you exert really high forces. So it's a very robustly built bike, and it's a bike that is used at home, but it's also used in commercial studios, and it's fully designed and certified for commercial use. And we have commercial customers that the bikes get hammered there with 5,000-6,000 rides per year. So it can do that, but in a normal environment, not many bikes would see that many rides in home use. But the bike has a small footprint, and it's something that most people should be able to fit into their home.
It's made for the grind, which I love, and it's a beautiful device. And I think that whenever I see it at my friend's house, he's always talking to me like that's one thing that he really enjoys, that he actually does stick with it, because of the science behind it. So I'm really, I was telling Bev, like, I really appreciate people that are really, really smart, and I'm just thankful that you took time to come talk with me about this. But you're a very smart man, so I like to, intellectuals. I always ask them just different questions, like a few personal questions, like what do you do? What do you like to do for hobbies? Like, what is your favorite hobby?
Okay, so
hang out with me.
Yeah. So a lot of it is actually exercise related. So I do cardio in a really efficient way. Resistance training, I don't actually mind spending a little bit more time on it because I do it with my sons, and on a weekend we would do 2-3 hours in a gym and do powerlifting, and that's like a bonding session for us, and it's a good thing. So that's one thing. And then I've started actually sprinting on a track. The Carol bike gave me great conditioning for that.
So you can,
and so that's now another thing that I took up. And kind of 3 kids that keeps me busy. Soccer, weightlifting, and so on. So that's kind of what covers my remaining free time.
Oh, favorite book?
Okay, it must be The Better Angels of Our Nature from Steven Pinker. That's kind of my personal, I don't want to say Bible, but that's a book that I find just very inspirational. It's about the history of violence and in the world, and how it's actually going down, and how we're becoming a more peaceful species. And it really helps, I find, to put, if you listen to the news, it's always just, if it bleeds, it leads, and you think like it's all going downhill. But if you step back and see how actually things have gotten better over the millennia, over the centuries, and how we're living actually in pretty good times. I think that's a very, very positive, very optimistic view, and that helped shape my optimistic worldview very much.
Oh man, see, I love it when you have like the intellectuals give us what they read, because then people are going to follow suit. I'm so thankful though that you did you come on here, and so we all need more optimism. And I'm so thankful. So we know where we can get the Carol bike, guys. Please look at the research, and truly, like, longevity. Just knowing that 2 more years, who wouldn't get it? Anyway, I'm so grateful. And we're here at the A4M with the longevity. And if you guys want more information on the Carol bike, please check out their website, check out all the videos that they have on YouTube, and check out their Instagram. So from all of us here at the Ancient Health Podcast, thank you, my guest. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Talk soon.